Let's bring you now Rachel Briggs, CEO of the Clarity Factor, Associate Fellow at Chatham House, and it has to be said, an international expert on hostage-taking. Rachel, good to have you on. Extremely difficult situation, obviously, for those hostages from the villages and towns where I am now who were dragged into Gaza a week last Saturday. I mean, fair to say that they are in an extremely perilous situation.
Perilous is the word, extremely perilous. They were taken, many of them will have been injured as they arrived in captivity. They're now being held in the middle of a terrible, terrible war zone. So, yeah, incredibly perilous situation. I would say it is always important to maintain hope, which in a situation like this might seem quite hard to believe. I have seen hostages walk out of situations that just seem completely impossible. Terry Waite was told, his family was told he was dead a year into his captivity, and of course he came out. So, yeah, I can't stress enough how difficult this situation is, but it's really important that we maintain hope for the hostages that are being held there.
Yes, so we'll come on to the prospects of a rescue in a moment. But first of all, let's talk about them. The trauma of being dragged from their homes in the early morning, taken into Gaza. Gaza now under fire. The sounds are incredible here from incoming and outgoing rockets and artillery fire. A desperately scary situation. What goes through a hostage's mind? How do they deal with situations like this?
I mean, truly terrorising. Terrorising situation. They also, as well as we understand, have children with them as well. So they will be, I would have thought most of their first thoughts will be with trying to care for the kids, keep them as calm as possible. And I hope that will give them some kind of strength to sort of get through this. But yeah, awful. And for those who do manage to get out alive, and let's hope as many as possible do, it will be a long road to recovery, having gone through something quite as extreme and as terrifying as this.
Well, two routes, I suppose, to rescue. One is armed, the other through negotiation. Let's talk about negotiation first of all. How would you start to find channels? Would it be through the Qataris, who we know have connections to Hamas? For someone like you, who's well practiced in this, where would you start?
Well, I'm not a negotiator, but having been around cases, what I can feel confident is that all of the parties involved on the government side of things will be trying to find channels in. There's been reports this morning that former diplomats and former intelligence agents are being asked, work your networks, try to find a route in. As difficult as negotiation would be in a circumstance like this, there's always efforts that are going on to just find, how can we just get the door slightly ajar, let alone getting people around the table? So no doubt all of the governments will be working their efforts. They're trying to find a person, an organisation, a network that has some influence that can just, as I say, even open the door just a slither to get things started, as unlikely as it might seem in a situation like this.
What is the value to Hamas of taking them? What would Hamas want in return, do you think, if they were released? And also, is it in Hamas's interests to name them, to identify them, so that people have an emotional response to who they are?
Yeah, so it's, clearly there's a number of things that I would imagine have been at play in the mind of Hamas leaders. One will be the human shield rationale. They, I'm sure, will right from the outset have been thinking these people could be human bargaining chips, which is so distasteful. They certainly have prisoners that are being held in Israel, so that may be one route that they want to go through. Whether they will begin to name them over the coming days, I don't know. Certainly there are families that have stepped forward in recent days, certainly on the British side, who are, desperately showing photographs of their loved ones. They want those people to stay in our minds. They want us to know their names. Hostage taking is so effective precisely because it is so human. And so I think for both sides, there's a rationale for us to at some point know exactly who, see the faces. It ramps up the pressure for sure.
Rachel, Israel is famous for its attitude of never leaving a man behind. Do you think that would give, both the relatives waiting, fearing and hoping, some solace, and even those hostages who are held, right now in Gaza just behind us?
Yeah, and it absolutely should. You're absolutely spot on. Israel absolutely never leaves anybody behind. So they will, like any country in this situation, they will have absolutely all of the options on the table. They will be trying desperately to get their people home. Obviously, it's a difficult situation, so some options just may not be open to them at the moment. But I would really want any family that is going through this at the moment to hold on to that hope that the Israelis, the Brits, the Americans, all of those governments involved, I have absolute certainty, will be leaving no stone unturned and will really absolutely desperately want to get everybody back safely if they possibly can.
And just one final thought, given the conflict feels very well, I have to say, underway now, even if the tanks haven't rolled into Gaza, there's rockets coming out, there's artillery fire going in, there's IDF airstrikes, on Gaza right now at the moment. What are the prospects of an armed intervention that could find and save hostages?
Yeah, I mean, rescue is something that will be in the minds of the Israelis, always the option of last resort, because it's terribly dangerous. You've got to have some certainty. You know where the hostages are. You're putting special forces' lives at risk to go and get them, and you have to have some degree of certainty that you'll get them out, even if you find them. So I think that will absolutely be an option that is in play right now. I don't have any special access here. I'm not speaking, having had conversations behind the scenes, but drawing on other cases that I've seen, I feel sure that is an option that is being kept alive right now.
Rachel Briggs, good to have you on. Thank you very much indeed.